Welcome back to the news today. This is One-on-One. Latifa ibn Ziaten is the mother of the first victim of Mohammed Merah, who carried out an attack in Toulouse, France, on French soldiers and Jewish civilians in March of 2012. Since then, she's founded an organization to promote peace between religions. I24 News French anchor Jean-Charles Banoun sat down with her.
Our guest tonight is Latifa ibn Ziaten. Good evening. Thank you for being with us. You're currently in Israel because you brought a group of 17 children, and that's a first. 2 of them are actually with us. Let's introduce them. Good evening, Rose and Yassine. Good evening. You're both 18 and you're part of this group. Latifa, you founded the organization Imad in memory of your son, Imad ibn Ziaten. Let's remind our viewers that he was the first victim of Mohammed Merah. Imad was a soldier who was killed on March 11, 2012 in Toulouse. First, let's talk about your trip here. Why did you choose to take this group of children and teenagers from Paris to here, to Israel, but also to Ramallah in the Palestinian territories?
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me. It is a great honor to be in Israel, and I am glad to bring these 17 students. Why did I initiate this project? I work in a school and I keep being asked about Palestine, about the suffering, the differences. So I said I must come here and see by myself in order to start a project. It was very important for me. I came in June 2014. I made contacts, I visited places, I met families. I saw how people lived together. The conflict does exist indeed, but people live together. Then I worked in other schools with students, and I wanted them to be ambassadors for peace. I wanted them to experience what I saw here in June 2014. I wanted them to see the relations with the Palestinians and with the Israelis, how both people coexist, the 3 religions side by side. They're not different from each other. All you need is to reach out to another person to get to know him. That is what we did with these youngsters. We met families, we celebrated a Shabbat dinner.
We saw the photos you've published on your Facebook account. It was surprising to see all these children. And it's a very strong memory for all of you. Rose, what did you learn from this Shabbat dinner with a Jewish-Israeli family?
First of all, I want to thank you for hosting us in your studio. It was really enriching. It taught me new values. It is possible to spend some time, even a whole evening, together, united. I found something very surprising. I am a Christian. Mrs. Ibn Ziaten is a Muslim, and Jews welcomed us in their house to celebrate the Shabbat. I realized we were all united around the same table, and there was absolutely no difference. I felt like we were all the same. It was a great, unforgettable moment for me.
Yassine?
First, I also wanted to thank you for hosting me in your studio. I agree with Rose. I want to thank the organization for letting us discover these 2 cultures. Spending Shabbat with a family was for me something really unique. We felt the 3 religions were united under the same roof, and that's the most beautiful thing. I want to thank Latifa for making it possible for us to take part in this event. We must, of course, make the connection between your experience here and the events in France, and also with your personal tragedy, Latifa. Your son was killed by Mohammed Merah during these attacks, which are still taking place today. What did you want to show these children? That here, in spite of the conflict, there's still a way to have a dialogue between the different religions and to get along, although we're all in a conflict zone?
Of course, it is important to bring these teenagers and to approach another civilization, other people, to make a step towards the other. The contact between 2 children, whether they're Christian, Israelis, it's powerful. The dialogue and the coexistence, that's what I'm working for. The coexistence, the way we look at each other, the humanity. Today, we must protect humanity on Earth. Mankind is doing stupid things. We must respect each other. Live along, know each other, and stop being afraid of each other. This is the message I want to convey to these youngsters. They've had a wonderful experience also in Ramallah with the Palestinian people. They had a very powerful exchange. Today we went to a French school in Jerusalem. It was extremely powerful. We met young people. It was moving and very touching. So when they're back in France, they will share their experience, how enriching it was to meet both peoples. As I said yesterday and the day before, if we could break this wall down, just like the Berlin Wall, then we would live in peace and all the people would join hands. This is my wish.
A beautiful symbol indeed. In France, you hear a lot about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It leads to highly violent reactions against the Jewish community in France. What was your impression before you came here, and what do you feel today? Rose, what do you think about the conflict before you came to Israel?
Well, what I imagined about these two countries was above all a lot of tension and violence. This was my first impression, so I was scared to even come here. It took me some time before I even gave an answer, but I went for it. I wanted to give it a chance. When I arrived here, I was very surprised. We have been very well received in Jerusalem. We visited monuments and we discovered that the country is very rich, spiritually speaking. I also went to Palestine. I thought Palestine too was a violent country because this is what I saw on the news. When we got there, we were received by the French Institute. We got a warm welcome from the children. I was surprised to see the difference between what I saw at home in France and what I saw here. These are two different things. I can say that when I am back in France, I'll fulfill my task as an ambassador and I'll make people understand the reality and that it is possible to live together, thanks to Mrs. Latifa's organization.
Yassine, did you too have a distorted view as compared to what you saw here, both in the Israeli and in the Palestinian side?
Yes, you know, I watch this conflict particularly closely because it takes place in the Middle East, which is an important region for me. I knew there were clashes from time to time. There was a lot of tension in the country, but I also knew people found a way to live together and to communicate. I was struck by the fact that a young Palestinian spoke Hebrew and a young Israeli spoke Arabic.
Ce qui m'avait marqué, c'est qu'un jeune arabe palestinien savait parler hébreu et qu'un jeune israélien.
That's the most beautiful image I saw during my trip, and once I'm back home, it will remain the most beautiful image I'll keep from these two countries.
It is true that by coming here, one can be surprised by the way the conflict is depicted in France. Latifa ibn Ziaten, why do you think that mentioning the Israeli-Palestinian issue in France leads to such violent reactions? And it's not the case here, as you were able to go anywhere freely.
The media play a major role, and a bad one, because they keep showing images of the conflict. Young people are moved by the Palestinian people. They must be said. When they see children dying from Israeli bullets, they are appealed. They can't appreciate it. But when we went to Ramallah yesterday, I told them, look, people live, the stores are open, everybody looks happy. Some stories are touching. It is tough to exit the territory, to get in, to go to school, and they told their stories. But they still get along, and there is a dialogue. This is our strength, their ability to reach out to the other and to understand each other. The rest is politics. It is the government's task to bring peace, but the Palestinian people and the Israeli people can get along without any problem.
Thank you. Thank you all, and have a safe trip back. Thank you.
Yes, and that was it for tonight. We will see you again on Sunday. Have a great weekend from the Jaffa Port. Have a great night.